those who have been following All Rise News here on Legal AF on the Midas Touch Network have followed the litigation involving Trump's threatened suspension of SNAP benefits. But a story that hasn't gotten enough attention, nearly enough attention, is what's been going on regarding Ukrainian war refugees who've been driven off SNAP, not only because of the shutdown, not only because of the suspension, but because of a policy change by Trump's government. And here to discuss that with us today is Yuriy Boyechko, who's the CEO of Hope for Ukraine and who has been made aware of letters received by Ukrainian war refugees and Ukrainian Americans in the United States spontaneously knocked out off their SNAP benefits and in danger of going hungry, along with millions of other Americans. Yuriy, thank you so much for joining us. Can you give a broad overview of what's happened to recipients of humanitarian parole from Ukraine?
First of all, Adam, thank you for having me. And it was a shockwave that came through our office and through entire community, right? Ukrainian refugees who are here, because basically in the end of October, they start getting these letters notifying them because of their immigration status, their SNAP benefits will be cut off or reduced significantly, right? And most of them, and even me, I wasn't really understanding what this is all about, right? So when we start digging deeper into this, first in November, we had a bunch of meetings with our community leaders all across U.S. I remind you that there's about 300,000 Ukrainian war refugees in United States that came here after full-scale invasion, right, of 2022. And most of them came here under the temporary protection status. They have these 2-year parole windows, right, where they can stay here legally. So all of them here legal, right? But we start looking into this and we start speaking to the family. So basically, based on this new changes, which is a result of big, beautiful bill. So the first, and this is, I call it cruelest cut of the big, beautiful bill, actually targeted the most vulnerable population that's in the United States. I mean, we're talking about Ukrainian refugees, war refugees here, but it touches not only Ukrainian war refugees. It touches everyone who's here under temporary protective status that doesn't have any long-term legal way to stay here, right? So basically, you're talking about thousands and thousands of people that starting November 1st have lost access to SNAP. So temporary, food assistance program. So just for you to understand that, I mean, average SNAP benefit per person is around $210, right? And, Congressional Budget Office, they did a bunch of deep dive on this. And this cut, right, is not going to make a big budget difference, right? It's not a humongous line item. But for these families, one family I spoke to yesterday, I mean, they have a family of 6 with 4 small children, right? They work minimum wage jobs, right? For them, that assistance of about $1,000 that they were getting to provide food on their table is crucial. And right now, I mean, we see in front of our eyes that, there's serious hunger crisis will be created here in United States. And it's not because of, natural disasters, not because of food shortages, but it's strictly because of the policies that were enacted as a part of big, beautiful bill. So that's basically, and right now we're trying to bring this to public's attention because the consequences are humongous. Because right. in the end of the day, you're talking about, these families, right? I'm talking about Ukrainian refugee families. They have nowhere to go because most of them here came from the areas where the homes being destroyed by war, right? And they're here in the United States. They're in a legal limbo because they don't know if their temporary status will be extended. Now, their SNAP benefits is gone, right? So basically, they have a choice. Okay, pay the rent and not eat, or eat and get evicted, right? So it's a very serious crisis that we are entering right now. That's why I'm surprised that this has not been. I mean, I came to know it in depth yesterday, actually, and we start bringing up to everybody's attention because in that big beautiful bill, nobody even talked about that issue, and right now it's coming to light, which gonna affect the most vulnerable and most desperate members of our societies. And that should be really, really, brought to each and every person on the Hill in the Senate. And they need to do whatever it takes to put a measure in place, vote on something that will bring back these SNAP benefits.
And you mentioned in your answer, this was temporary protective status was a program that brought people here lawfully. And you had hundreds of thousands of people, not only Ukrainians, but people around the world fleeing war, violence, or other kind of instability, welcomed to the United States, having the rug pulled out from under them by Donald Trump's government. And now through this budget bill, what options are left for the community? Are you fighting any of these battles in the courts? There's some litigation going on right now involving temporary protected status. There's some litigation going on right now involving SNAP benefits. Is there any recourse for the Ukrainian American community, the humanitarian refugees who were welcomed to this country and had the rug pulled out from under them in this manner?
So we are in the early stages because this has just happened, like November 1st, and we're still trying to figure out our course of action. But just to bring to everybody's attention that this protection, the SNAP benefits, has been in place for decades in the United States. So this is not Republican or Democrat issue, right? So basically, up until now, everyone who came to the United States, even though if they didn't have a long-term like green card legal status, they were eligible to apply for these benefits because in the end of the day, food is a human right, right? And that's the foundation that this country was built on. So this is something that we see the whole generation of American lifestyle and policy and the soul of the country is changing because right now, you promised protection for these people who have come here with nothing, right? There is no announcement. They don't know how to read these bills. There was no notice. Like I came to know about it just recently, right? And now you pull something, the little foundation that they have. So what they're gonna do next? So I think our number one goal right now is to shine light on this, and hopefully, there's going to be enough people in the House, in the Senate, on both sides of the aisle, who will realize that this is a very big mistake that they made because this is a very small budget line in the budget, but it's going to have a big consequences for the communities down the line. Because remember, if you have the families who cannot put food on the table, it will cause all kinds of health issues, all kinds of mental issues, which will effectively create a strain on the community health programs, hospitals, to treat all these people who don't get enough nutrition because of this $210 per person that they cannot get of assistance. Right. So right now, our number one goal is to shine light on this because I think this was so underreported and undercovered issue that actually affects thousands and thousands. We're talking about in Ukrainian communities in the United States, it's about 300,000 of them. But you're talking about other groups, right, who here with under the same, covering as far as the, temporary status. So it has, so we are hoping that we can get this done, and the people in on a hill, and they will pass the legislation to fix this problem. Yeah.
If they could ever get onto the hill to fix these problems. You make a very good point. On top of the cruelty of this decision, this is going to put tremendous strain on communities. The cruelty itself should be enough. I'm going to read a passage from one of the letters that your organization, Hope for Ukraine, shared with us about an example of some of these notifications coming out without a lot of media attention, let alone national media attention. One recipient of the letter said, effective October 24th, 2025, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, will have its eligible alien groups redefined. Only U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, Cubans and Haitians, and individuals residing under the Compact of Free Association will qualify for SNAP. So this was a policy change. This is not only a function of the government shutdown. This is pulling out the rug, as I said, out from under communities that were welcomed here, fleeing a war of aggression by Russia into Ukraine. Thank you so much, Yuriy, for joining us. Can you tell me a little bit more about your organization, Hope for Ukraine, and how the public can follow it?
Yeah, so we've been around since 2016. We do a lot of humanitarian work in Ukraine, providing food assistance and medical assistance and assistance to refugees and internally displaced in Ukraine, but also we help here in the United States to refugees of war who came here, and trying to advocate and help them as any way we can. So everybody can learn more about us by visiting our website, hfu.org, or you can follow us on social media at Hope for Ukraine.
Thank you so much again, Yuriy. And for folks to find out more information about All Rise News, visit www.allrisenews.com. That's www.allrisenews.com. And look for the next video here on Legal AF by subscribing now.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.